So let's run quickly through these eyeballs we have. Um, as you see on screen, we've already started with this. Again, we're in ZBrushCore 2020, and we just gonna come in. So if I just want to bring this to your attention again, I'm Adrian from asanatomy.com, and welcome to this lecture where we're going to be sculpting an eyeball, as we have already started adding those details, working on the iris object, which is it's going to be combined with the sclera. It's going to be like a single object with the poop with everything. So we already started with the sketching out. As you see, I'm moving around, building up those forms around those lines that we've sketched earlier. Now I'm just coming in, switching between those. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, I've made, you can see my brushes palette. You can kind of see which brushes am I using to finish this right here. So you see I'm just drawing those lines, just coming in. Look at your reference. There's tons of reference online to find these irises. As you see, once I've done those sketches, now look at, I'm just moving in those lines, in between those lines with the build-up brush. So I created my own build-up brush with alpha 36, and you can also use the clay build-up brush as I'm using over here, but it creates those rough edges that needs you to come smooth again. So that's why you see I'm coming with the smooth brush, making sure everything lines up, and then I'm coming with the build brush now, with the clay build-up brush. You see I'm coming in, speeding up those forms. As you see how rough it is and how strong am I coming in to build these over here. So we will try to make these 3D models, this eyeball model available for our students that need them, because we, as like a base mesh, and also for personal use, so that you guys might study this very easy. I'm just going to carve that in with the clay build-up brush, and just redynamesh and carving that in. Again, I'm creating that shadow, that realistic feel to it, that it's a real hole underneath on our irises. So there's a lot of variation between irises, and they tend to be different with people. So if you like search online, you can kind of see the variation that we have as humans. So there's these irises are different. I'm gonna come in with my Damien standard. I'm gonna do these sketches because it kind of helps us to as guides, so we don't need to stress ourselves when we coming in with build up those forms. So before you build those forms, just do these sketches over here as you see me do, and it will help you. And just turn on radial symmetry, just so soft, just moving. As you see, there's not enough polygons, but then this can work for us. I'm just coming in like so with the Damien standard and radial symmetry, and just coming and building up with the standard brush. Just pick up those lines, around those lines, just creating that illusion. As you see over here, just picking up those forms, just picking up around those lines, just randomly, just coming in, looking at our reference. So I've turned off symmetry, yes, just coming in, just building that with the standard brush, as you see me holding on over there, pulling that up ever so slightly, and then turn on symmetry, and then I'm just going to create that inside our iris. So I'm just carving in, holding on Alt option on your keyboard, and then that's what I get. So I have that. Now I can now switch between with my build brush, art build brush, which I created using the clay builder brush. It's actually the clay builder brush, but then I added another alpha to it, so I believe it's alpha 36, something that was soft. You can also add your own alphas if you wanna. Just gonna come in, dynamesh that. I'm gonna smooth that out. Just come in like so. carving that in. So that's gonna be a quick class, but then I'm sure you guys can see like when I use this brush over here, it kind of comes in like so. See, my build brush just makes life very easy. Redynamish that. So I get a lot of pinching, so I'm just gonna pick up, just gonna build over there on top, and don't be afraid to exaggerate this for now. We might decrease the details, but at this stage I'm just exaggerating everything, just carving in that in, just redynamishing that, smoothing that out. So I just need to add those forms. As you see, I'm getting holes here. Pinch that in. Just gonna smooth that out. Come in, build up around those lines that we drew, as you see, ever so slightly. And then I'm just gonna use my standard brush again. So this works very nice. When I drag those lines, it kind of creates those straight lines which is smooth around the edges. So that's what I use normally to pick up those lines. So normally for our irises that you've seen us do, if you look at our channels, we've recorded 3 tutorials just going through this technique that we're doing over here. So as you can see, it's basically using these brushes and just coming in, doing that those sketching first, and then just come in. It's very easy when you come in with the brushes once you have your sketches. So I also have my reference on the side, just an iris object I found on Pinterest. You can find a lot of reference on Pinterest which you can use for yourself, just to help to guide you guys to see all those details that we have. I'm just gonna carve that in, and just gonna come in and smooth that out. Just gonna make sure I have all my details right there. I'm using the standard brush, as you see over here. My hand being very harsh, as I just wanna make sure that I have those details in place. Like if you're gonna be exporting these as maps or like 3D printing, if you want to do that, so just make sure whenever you're sculpting in ZBrush, you actually emphasize your details. So like, because you're gonna lose some of the details when you're gonna be extracting these, or you're gonna be 3D printing these. So it's always important to go into town with the details. Just exaggerate a bit with those details, and it will kind of help you guys to not lose most of your details when you're gonna be extracting these. I'm just gonna come in again with my build brush, and then just gonna move around those lines we drew, and just move around these lines we drew over there, put up those forms. And if you're wondering how I done those veins and that noisy texture, it's essentially, as you see over here, it's essentially just applying the noise, surface noise on our mesh, just reducing the intensity, and then adding those veins with the drag rate brush. You can find these offers online also of veins, and just drag those randomly without symmetry, just dragging them So to achieve that realism to it, we kind of ditched symmetry. So this is not high res actually, so it wasn't intended to be actually, just that if you look at from far, if you look on it from far, you can just actually see those major shapes in plates and everything well built, just creating that realistic feel to it. Redynamize that, and you see we're almost done with our shapes and our eyeball over here. And it's not intended to be a super high resolution iris. It's just for us to capture those details, kind of create that realistic feel to it. If you probably look from far, and if you zoom in very closely, you see I'm creating those lines with the standard brush. My draw size being very soft. I'm just gonna blend that together. Just gonna try blend it together with the standard brush ever so slightly. Gonna dynamize that. As you can see, probably like if you wanna save polygons, as you see we on 2 million polygons, you can actually use I'm gonna grab the alpha 7 over here. I'm just gonna come in with the standard brush, just creating those texture, as you can see. So that's how you can also create that noisy texture, that bumpy texture. So if you look at these irises online, human irises, realistic irises, they have that rough surface on them, and it's kind of that noisy. I'm trying to create that feel to it also, but that's how they are. So if you see me using that brush, I'm just gonna carve in again with the standard brush, and then that's what I have. So I have that noise, and then redynamize that, and then just turn and check my model. So if we will be adding like the cornea layer on top, which is that almost like a glass surface, the reflective surface we have on top of our sclera and our iris object, we will be then just making sure that our irises, it's not pointing outward but then inward. So if we're going to be adding refraction on top of our on our cornea object, and then we will have that refraction effect of the real human eye. So but on this case, this it's built for 3D printing, so there won't be any of those rendering techniques. But if you making this eye or these models for 3D printing, just make sure you have that. Now you see I'm adding that noisy texture, and then I'm grabbing my veins, dragging them randomly with the drag rect and the standard brush, as you saw over there, very quickly. I'm just gonna grab my clay butter brush and just go around the edges to create that bumpy surface around the iris. Like whenever the iris it's like blending with the sclera, it has like those edges, those rough edges on the side. I'm just trying to create that effect with my standard build brush. Just make sure it's not too harsh as I done over there. So I'm just making sure I'm gonna make it a bit soft, and then I'm just gonna leave it like that, just making sure it's quite soft. Probably like turn off symmetry if you wanna, to create that realistic feel to it. Just gonna come in like so, that bumpy surface, just blending the sclera and the iris object, just coming in very softly, just building that up. And you can also use, like if you're in ZBrush, you can also use this fantastic brush, which is the elastic. So I kind of created this brush myself, so because this was recorded in the ZBrushCore, and I believe it's also in ZBrushCore, but you just need to double check that. I'm not quite sure, but you can just use any brush that builds very softly, or you can create it yourself, just following our technique that we went through. essentially just grabbing the clay pitter brush and then adding a soft alpha like alpha 36 or any alpha you find in a ZBrush. Just moving that with the move topological brush, just making sure everything it's straight and those curves are not that jaggy. I'm gonna smooth that out where I can, just moving that in, just move that in place. Just coming back in,